Yo, what's up world? Hassan Minhaj here, ready to break down a rivalry as old as time itself. India versus China. Okay, maybe not that old, but trust me, this economic showdown is the real deal. We're talking about two of the world's most populous nations, each with its own unique strengths and challenges, vying for the top spot on the global stage. Picture this. On one side, we have India, a country with a rich cultural heritage, a booming tech industry, and a youthful population that's eager to innovate and make its mark. On the other side, we have China, a nation that's transformed itself into the world's factory, churning out goods at an unprecedented rate and investing heavily in infrastructure and technology. Both economies are on the rise, both are hungry for global dominance, and both are determined to shape the future in their favor. But the paths they've taken to get here couldn't be more different. India, the land of Bollywood and billion-dollar startups, is a vibrant democracy with a diverse economy that's driven by services, agriculture, and a growing manufacturing sector. Meanwhile, China, the manufacturing powerhouse of the world, has leveraged its centralized planning and state-owned enterprises to become a global leader in production and exports. It's a clash of titans, a battle for resources, and a fight for the future. But it's also a story of contrasts, with each country facing its own set of challenges and opportunities. But here's the thing, it's not a fair fight, not even close. While India has made significant strides in recent years, it's still playing catch-up to China in many areas. China's been playing a different game, one with different rules, and India's been feeling the heat. From trade imbalances to technological advancements, China has consistently outpaced India, creating a significant gap between the two economies. We're talking about a flood of cheap Chinese goods that have inundated Indian markets, a trade deficit wider than the Ganges, and some seriously shady tactics like debt trap diplomacy, where China extends loans to other countries with the intention of gaining political and economic leverage. But don't worry, India's not backing down. The country is determined to level the playing field and assert its own economic power. They're coming out swinging with initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat, which aims to make India self-reliant by boosting domestic production and reducing dependence on imports. And then there's the PLI, Production-Linked Incentive Scheme, designed to attract investment and encourage manufacturing in key sectors. So buckle up, folks, because we're diving deep into the tangled web of China's impact on the Indian economy. We'll explore how these two giants are shaping the global economic landscape, the strategies they're employing, and the challenges they face along the way. Get ready for some hard truths, some serious shade, and maybe even a little bit of hope along the way. Because in this tale of two economies, the stakes are high, and the outcome will have far-reaching implications for the entire world. So stay tuned, and let's get into it.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the dragon in the bazaar. Walk into any market in India, from the bustling streets of Delhi to the vibrant lanes of Chennai, and you'll be drowning in Chinese goods. We're talking everything. Clothes, electronics, toys, even those tiny Indian flags you wave on Independence Day. And the worst part? It's all dirt cheap, like suspiciously cheap. See, China's mastered the art of mass production, churning out goods at prices that would make even Gandhi question his vow of poverty. Now, a little bit of healthy competition is good, right? It drives innovation, pushes companies to improve, and ultimately benefits consumers with better products and services. But what happens when the competition isn't so balanced? Keeps everyone on their toes. However, when one side is consistently outperforming the other, it can lead to significant economic imbalances. But when one country is consistently selling way more than it's buying, we got a problem. This isn't just a minor issue, it's a major economic concern that can affect everything from employment rates to national GDP. And that, my friends, is the story of India's trade deficit with China. This isn't a new phenomenon, it's been a growing issue for years, affecting various sectors of the economy. We're talking billions, with a B, folks. These aren't just numbers on a page, They represent real economic impact, affecting businesses, jobs, and even the cost of living. In 2022 alone, the trade deficit was a whopping $72.9 billion. To put that in perspective, that's more than the GDP of some small countries. That's like China taking $1 billion from India every single week. Imagine the kind of development and infrastructure projects that could be funded with that money. And it's not just a one-time thing. This trade imbalance has been a persistent issue, growing year after year, creating a significant economic challenge for India. This gap has been widening for years, like a chasm in the Himalayas. It's a complex issue that requires strategic planning and policy changes to address effectively. The Indian government has been working on various strategies to reduce this deficit, including promoting local manufacturing and seeking alternative trade partners. Initiatives like Make in India aim to boost domestic production and reduce dependency on imports, but it's a long road ahead. International trade agreements and collaborations are also crucial in balancing this trade equation. It's a global effort that requires cooperation and mutual benefit. With the right policies and international cooperation, there's hope for a more balanced trade relationship in the future. Let's keep our fingers crossed and work towards a prosperous and equitable economic landscape. So, what happens when a country is flooded with cheap imports? Local businesses get crushed. Indian manufacturers, especially in sectors like textiles and electronics, are struggling to compete with China's low prices. Imagine you're a small business owner in India making beautiful hand-stitched kurtas. You take pride in your work, you pay your employees fair wages. Then bam! Chinese-made kurtas flood the market, selling for a fraction of the price. It's a losing battle, and many Indian businesses are forced to shut down, leaving thousands jobless. Section 5. A helping hand or a shackle? China's debt trap diplomacy. This chapter delves into the controversial and often criticized strategy employed by China, known as debt trap diplomacy. It's a tactic that has raised eyebrows and sparked debates across the globe.
Now, let's talk about China's not-so-subtle strategy debt trap diplomacy. This approach involves extending significant loans to developing nations, often for large-scale infrastructure projects. On the surface, it appears to be a generous offer, but the reality is far more complex and potentially damaging.
It's like that friend who's always down to lend you money, knowing full well you can't pay them back. They seem helpful at first, but their true intentions become clear when the debt starts piling up. Knowing full well you can't pay them back, the stress and financial burden become overwhelming, and the borrower finds themselves in a precarious situation, unable to escape the cycle of debt.
China's been showering developing countries with loans for infrastructure projects, often with strings attached. These projects include building roads, railways, ports, and other critical infrastructure. While these developments can boost local economies, the hidden costs are substantial.
When these countries can't repay, China swoops in and demands concessions, which can range from economic to political. These concessions often include control over key assets and strategic locations, giving China significant leverage, like access to strategic ports. These ports are not just economic hubs but also hold military and geopolitical significance, allowing China to extend its influence far beyond its borders, or control over natural resources. By securing rights to valuable minerals and other resources, China ensures a steady supply for its industries, while the host countries lose control over their own assets.
Sri Lanka, anyone? This island nation is a prime example of how debt trap diplomacy can play out. They accepted massive loans for infrastructure projects, only to find themselves unable to repay. They got caught in this web, and now China's got a major foothold in the Indian Ocean. The Hambantota port, once a symbol of development, is now under Chinese control, showcasing the far-reaching consequences of these loans.
Not cool, China. Not cool. This strategy raises ethical questions and concerns about sovereignty and economic independence. As we continue to explore this topic, it's crucial to understand the broader implications of debt trap diplomacy on global politics and economics. Section 6, fighting back India's Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. But hold up, India's not taking this lying down. Enter Atmanirbhar Bharat, which basically means self-reliant India. It's Prime Minister Modi's grand plan to boost domestic manufacturing, reduce reliance on China, and make India a global economic powerhouse. Think of it as India's way of saying, we got this. The initiative focuses on promoting local products, supporting small businesses, and attracting foreign investment in key sectors. Section 7. Leveling the playing field. PLI schemes and their impact. Remember those struggling Indian manufacturers? Well, India's throwing them a lifeline with production-linked incentive, PLI schemes. These schemes offer financial incentives to companies in strategic sectors like electronics, pharmaceuticals, and automobiles. The goal? Make Indian manufacturing more competitive, boost exports, and create jobs. It's like India's saying, we're not just going to play the game, we're going to win it. Section 8. The road ahead. Challenges and opportunities for India. Now, let's be real, turning the tide on this economic face-off won't be easy. India faces some serious challenges, from bureaucratic hurdles to a lack of infrastructure. But there's also a ton of opportunity. India's got a young, dynamic workforce, a growing middle class, and a thriving startup ecosystem. Plus, with the global supply chain shifting, India's got a chance to position itself as a manufacturing alternative to China. Section 9. Navigating the future, a complex relationship in a changing world. So is China killing the Indian economy? The answer, my friends, is complicated. It's not a simple case of good versus evil. China's economic rise has definitely impacted India, but it's also pushed India to step up its game. The future depends on how India navigates this complex relationship, leverages its strengths, and creates a more self-reliant and resilient economy. One thing's for sure, this is a rivalry that's going to shape the 21st century. Stay tuned, folks, because this story's far from over.